All right. Well, since time is of the essence, why don't we go ahead and get started? And so my name is Nancy Kirby. I'm the Executive Director here at IncubatorWorks. Thanks for tuning in for our Thursday session. We've been doing this every week since we went through shutdown. And we've been focusing on the Paycheck Protection Program and other emergency funding. And in the last week or so, we've been also transitioning to getting ready for reopening, especially in the southern tier of New York. Barry, it keeps flickering in and out.
Okay.
So, all right. So today, what are we going to talk about? Let's go to the next slide. We're going to do a program overview on the Paycheck Protection Program, the rules for forgiveness, and actually go through some forgiveness worksheets as an example. We'll also review the governor's plan for the reopening updates, the phases that we've all been hearing about, and what you need to do to be ready for reopening. So, okay, so update on the PPP. The original round was $349 billion. Current round is 310. The money has been going to small businesses, so only 189 billion was out as of the 8th of May. So if you haven't applied, you want to apply now. 73% of the loans are under 50,000. Huge difference from the last round when more than half of them were over $1 million, and the average loan is 73,000. And our local banks are accepting applications from new customers, so it's not too late. The reminder, it's a 2-year repayment term on any amount not forgiven, 1% interest. So you can go on to the next slide, Barry, please. So we're going to focus today on the forgiveness. 75% of the loan must be used for payroll to qualify for forgiveness of that portion of the PPP. Payroll is calculated using gross payroll, and you can add group health insurance and retirement contributions for employees. And FICA, or otherwise known as Social Security, is not included in the eligible gross payroll. So the other 25% of the forgiveness, the proceeds can be used to pay for rent, utilities, and mortgage interest. The word is that is going to be expanded to include things like insurance, but no word yet. We've been promised that new information now for well over 2 weeks, which is a long time in today's world. Okay, so I'm going to show you a worksheet we've developed here at IncubatorWorks. And hopefully my share screen will work fine today. Okay. All right, can you see my spreadsheet, Barry?
It's on, Nancy.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right. I know this looks a bit overwhelming, but bear with me as we go through here, and you'll see that it's not as bad as it looks, but this is to actually give you a tool to track the loan forgiveness that can be taken to the bank to support how you spent the money. So in this example, this is a business that was able to receive, you see this line one, they got $49,851. Yeah, this is all made up. This is not a real business, but 75% of that is 37,000. So since they got the money on April 16th, they have to spend it, the pay dates and the amount of the payroll. And then the spreadsheet tracks the cumulative balance. And you can see so here's an employer that it's going to take May 8th for them to get back to what may have been their full employment. And then as of May 15th, they've doubled their payroll And so the cumulative balance at this level, they would have spent 28,000 of their total PPP, and that would be only 57%. So in this case, they would only get the most they could get forgiven is 57%. At the time they got the PPP, their FTEs were down to 3. They went up to 4, and then when they got their payroll back to being full payroll, they got up to 8. So their average FTEs for this period are 5.82. Now, so if we take that 28,000 as the allowable amount of the payroll that can be forgiven, we then have to take the FTE calculation, which is 5.82, and we can compare that to 2 periods, either a period from 2019 or a period from 2020. And there's a lot of numbers here. That's just simple calculations to calculate what ultimately is in that light tan number, the average FTEs for the same period of 2019. For this employer is 7. The same period for 2020 is 7.2. So if you apply those percentages, or excuse me, if you do the division, so you take the average FTEs during the 8 weeks, the average FTEs during the test period for 2019, that basically gives you 83%. So the potential forgiveness is the percentage, or is the payroll that qualifies times that percentage. So the potential forgiveness for this business is $23,489. The alternate FTE calculation is actually smaller, so you wouldn't do that one. You do the higher one. Obviously, you want the most forgiven. So one of the interesting things to do is to look at this and say, okay, what if this business was able to get back to full payroll faster? So that we'll change this one, so it equals the 4730, and we take our employees back up to 8, and you can see that the amount of the forgiveness is increased dramatically, which is what the whole PPP is about, is for people to get their employment back up. I'm going to take it back down to where it was because the next spreadsheets are kind of based on that. So that's the payroll calculation, and the important part of that is what I've just highlighted here. That's really the critical part. The other is supporting documentation. So then you've got the 25%. That's pretty simple. You go through that same 8-week period. In this business, spent $5,000 on rent, $1,000 on utilities. So of that 25%, they can have $6,000 forgiven. Then we go to the actual forgiveness and what happens to the loan. So we take the original amount of the PPP, which is $49,851. We subtract the payroll forgiveness, the other forgiveness. The amount to be repaid is $20,000. So that's repaid at 1% interest over the next 2 years. Based on this, the monthly loan payment would be $857. So that's what it looks like if somebody doesn't hit the 75%. With what, and the caveat in all of this is what we know now. So, questions about that? No? Okay. Yep.
Nancy, this is all very good, but are you aware of banks asking you to fill this out to their own specific format rather than a format that you have assumed on your own?
I haven't seen anything, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Barry, you want to take the screen back? All right, yeah, take the screen back, and then I'll, I guess I keep going for a little bit more. Okay, yeah, let's go to the next slide. So good news this week. When you got a PPP loan, you had to certify that current economic uncertainty makes this loan request necessary. And there were a lot of questions about how you would, oh, that didn't get fixed. That's supposed to be certification. Spell check strikes again.
Ooh,
So,
there we go.
So here's the good news. Any PPP loan for less than $2 million is considered to have fulfilled this requirement. So that's a huge benefit, a huge plus in the process that basically I don't know of any loans within, I say within our region, certainly within the small businesses we serve, that would be $2 million or more. Because there were questions as to whether, you know, someone would be, if they had to prove that they really needed the loan to survive, or they'd be in documentation problems with the SBA or Treasury. So this is really great news. Okay, we can go on, Barry. And if you need assistance calculating your PPP forgiveness, just let us know. We'll be happy to help. Okay, let's move on. Just a reminder, we have the Steuben County Emergency Relief Loan. That's going along well, and our friends at REDEC, George Miner and Melanie DeGraw, are working hard to get those loans approved. So definitely a good tool if you need some additional assistance. The next slide is the Chemung County loan, emergency loan. And I'm not sure if that has actually started yet. It's been in process, but if not, it will be underway soon. And that's also with REDEC. One of the good things too is when you apply for those loans, the folks at REDEC are looking to see if you're also eligible for a regular SBA guaranteed loan or microloan to help leverage these emergency relief loans. Okay, Barry. Phase one definitions. Actually, I don't think these were released today. I think they were released a couple days ago, but who knows? So we've got manufacturing and construction and curbside retail. Those were the three things that we heard earlier. But what we have now received as additional information, let me see here. Yep. Are all these other things that are part of phase one, which is huge, especially like landscaping, and medical, of course, as we know, the hospitals, drive-in movie theaters, and veterinary care. So what I don't see on this list, Barry, that was on my list is agriculture. That's a big part of phase one. Does this continue or?
It does not. It goes to phase two.
Okay, so agriculture is part of phase one.
Yes, I saw that earlier.
So what's happening is things are changing so fast. I apologize. The good thing is that you can find this information. Ashley, I sent the link out earlier.
I've got the link
Could you put that
included.
in chat? Okay, all right.
The
Let's go to
link's
the
in
next
the
slide then.
PowerPoint. I'll show people where to go.
Okay, all right. For the phases?
Yes.
Okay.
It gives
all
it
right.
gives the governors, it gives the states more detail of what they actually are. So for each phase.
Okay. Well, this is the state's information from, okay. Anyway, let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
Okay, and so these are going to be the phase 2 definitions, which is interesting that phase 2 is, to the best of our knowledge, is going to include hair salons and barbershops, and the bottom of the list is places of worship. So we see ourselves as an incubator in being phase 2. Could argue that as an incubator, you're in phase 1, but we definitely feel we'll be in phase 2. So on to the next slide. Phase 3. What's ironic is hotels and accommodations are in phase 3, but most of us know hotels are open now. So that part's kind of creating a lot of questions. And then you can see the list. We've got gyms, movie theaters, restaurants, event centers limited to 50 people, and yard sales. So first we've seen this, obviously is going to be lots of clarification, and it's incredible the number of questions all of this results in. It's just a lot to take in. Okay, the next slide, please, Barry. And phase 4, not really any further definition, but that continues the same as it was. And education, there's been a lot of discussion, especially on the call I was just on in Allegheny County before this one, on the fact that education cannot be left to phase 4. And I know that the colleges in New York State are preparing a response to all this for the governor to get direction on how they can make decisions as to whether to be able to welcome students back in August. So, okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Barry here.
So some of the other guidelines, and I'll go through the forward. So if I go into this, hopefully you guys are going to be able to see this. Are you guys able to view that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so the forward.ny.gov industries reopening phase, it will give you all of the detail. I'm not going to go through it, but I will give you, it goes through the guidelines. So each one, there was a heading. This actually goes through and gives all of the subheadings underneath that. And it gives more guidelines. So you'll see that in my initial list, it didn't include ag. It does in this. So this is the state mandated list. This is going to give you all the detail that you need to get into. I'm not sure if we can actually view that. If we can I'll put that into the chat before we leave. If we can copy and paste that into the chat. Let me see if I can do that real quick.
Barry, you can keep going, so another one of us can do that, put it in the chat.
All right.
Oh, you already got it.
So that was the phases. One of the other key pieces. So the phases, where does everybody think their business, do we have businesses that are on here that may fall under phase 2? I see a couple different business folks that are on the line. So do you guys feel like where do you feel like you fall? And I think everybody has the ability to take themselves off mute. I'm not positive on that, but.
Looks like no
Okay.
one wants to talk.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll keep going. So some of the basic guidelines for reopening. So the state is going to give us some guidance around this, but something that we've kind of put together on our own, being that Friday is basically going to be the start of reopening. So we've got some key factors to have focus around. So staff, customers, if you have physical customers coming to your location, vendors, a lot of us are going to have people that are dropping off supplies. So how do we manage those? Space within the facility, what that looks like, social etiquette. So, dealing with this new normal, what does that look like? And then one of the big ones is cleaning and sanitizing. So let me just get out of that and I will get into my Excel spreadsheet. So kind of what we have outlined for the incubator, and this kind of gives you guys a good guideline of what we're going to be doing. So we'll be releasing this tomorrow, both to staff members, tenants, and our board. So we've got employers or employees. So something that we're looking at is expectations and actions. So that's one of our guidances that we're going to be using.
Barry, let me stop you for just a minute. Can people read this or is it too small? Okay, great. Thank you.
One of the other pieces that we have, so we've got expectations and actions. We've got related policies, and then we've got a communication strategy. So under each of those headings, that's kind of how we're gonna tackle this. So under staff, some considerations for your staff as they come into work is if they have family members experiencing symptoms, school-age children, compromised immune system, office environment does not allow for social distancing. So that's one of the key points that you're going to want to be looking at is whether or not your office space actually allows for social distancing. And then upon returning from a person out of state, we're saying if somebody is traveling or has traveled and then they're supposed to be coming back to work, if they've been out of state, they should be remaining home for at least 2 weeks for the quarantine. No in-person meetings, masks worn in all public areas. So with the mask policy, it's basically you get out of your car, you go to your office, and then if your office allows that you can shut the door and go in, then you have the ability to take masks off. If you've got a place of work where you're within that six feet, you should have a mask on during that whole time. So again, adhering to social distancing, we've got some of the related policies that we're going to be revisiting is work from home policy, also sick time and PTO policy. So just ensuring employees and staff that as they're coming back that there isn't going to be any harmful repercussions if they have symptoms and they do remain home. And then for us, as far as a communication strategy, it's an email from the director to staff explaining the plan and the process of implementation, an email to our board of directors, and distributing the actual policies to staff so that they have them. And then as far as tenants, vendors, and visitors, so that's basically anybody that is not staff coming into our facility. They have the ability to return to work if they are not already. Some considerations for them as family members experiencing symptoms. So that's kind of the protocols that you're going to want to be checking to make sure that people are not experiencing symptoms. Office environment does not allow for social distancing. And then upon returning from a personal out-of-state travel. So again, making sure people are staying home that have been traveling. No in-person meetings, masks worn in all public areas, adhering to social distancing requirements, no unnecessary service technicians. So not having people come in that don't necessarily need to. So if you've got the air conditioner goes out and it's a 70-degree or 80-degree day that you need air conditioning, then you're bringing them in. But people that are just supply vendors or salespeople that are doing sales calls, you'd be turning them away. Sanitizing touch points. If you don't have the ability to have people sanitizing for you, I would recommend having a cleaning company. Some related policies are visitor policy, so signing in and reviewing a tenant handbook. So making sure that we've gone through and done that as well. And then communicating, so myself would be sending out an email to tenants, vendors, and visitors, and direct tenants to county-based health department. So I'll show you kind of what that is. I know we're probably not all in Steuben County, but Steuben County has this, and I assume that most of the other places are going to have it as well. That is, so if you go to the Steuben County website, you have the ability to see what the number of confirmed cases are. So you can go in and check this. And I would recommend that you're doing this every day, so that you're having that conversation with your staff as far as, you know, what places have been visited. So these are 3 areas. I know the other day I had sent one out. So there were some cases that were in Steuben County, but had impact around one of our incubators in Allegheny County. So just making sure you guys are sending that out and talking to your staff.
Barry, where was that link that you went to all the counties?
That I went to all the counties.
The one before this one.
This one?
No, the page before, oh, this one, yeah. What is
Okay.
this?
So this is just the Steuben County,
Oh, okay.
SteubenCounty.org. Each county is going to have their own health department that has a COVID listing. Whether you're in New York State or out of state, most county health departments are all going to have this in a place that you can access it. One of the other things that we're doing on our end, at least here, we don't have the capability to do it in our other incubator, is just having this up on a screen every day. So this lets you know exactly where the confirmed cases are, and gives you the ability to see what's happening in our region. So I do believe this is available for other counties as well. This is just linked to Steuben County. And again, this is off the Steuben County Health Department website. So. All right. Let me go back. So, so again, going back to space use. So one of the things that we had talked about as well is just having sanitizer stations. So we have them here. We have some sanitation type stations at Alfred as well, as far as hand wipes and that. One of the other items that we would be looking at if we have issues as far as bringing people back in full is limiting hours or doing shifts. So if you have work areas that require you have 10 people, if you have the ability to do 2 shifts, which would reduce the number to 5 people for each shift, that's an opportunity for you guys as well. Self-check station. So we have that here. We do not have that at our Alfred facility, but a self-check station with an infrared thermometer. So basically, I know Steuben County, part of what they're doing for the health department is local Steuben County, where they have the jail and the court system. What they'll be doing is they'll be doing an infrared, and they'll be having their security folks actually reading temperatures on folks. And anything that is over 100 degrees, I know originally it was 100.4, but they're saying anything that is over 100 degrees, they're asking people not to enter the facility. So those are all just some opportunities. For us as well, conference room policy. So we would start out without having any conference rooms available. So closing all conference rooms until we get some some information from the governor as far as the number of gathering, how many people can gather in an indoor space. Room counts posted, social distancing etiquette reminders are some of the communication strategies for that. And then social etiquette guidelines. So again, you can get this information from like the CDC and the Steuben County Health Department as far as like washing your hands and those sanitation type guidelines. They have a free stuff that you can basically print off and post where needed. So our communication strategy for that is just general sanitation posters around restrooms and kitchen spaces, any place where you're going to have multiple people gathering. And then again, cleaning and sanitizing. So some of the expectations and actions is just defining touch points in your area. So in your facility. So what are the touch points? What are the things that you need to be cleaning? How you're going to be cleaning it, and then how often, and then who's responsible. So I did see some guidance on that, and I'll get to that in just a second as far as what that's going to look like. But secure janitorial supplies, so making sure you have sanitizer solution. If you need to rent or lease a fogger to be able to sanitize a facility, that's something that you should be looking at doing as well. PPE as far as masks, gloves, depending on what your requirements are, you should be looking at getting that stuff now. Related policies, so facilities define what is being cleaned, and I talked about that already, and then general outline of what's being cleaned and how often for both facilities. So I will get out of that piece. Does anybody have any questions right now as far as I'm going through that? Okay. Let's see. And then I did speak to our local health department person yesterday. And some of the key learnings from that conversation was considering the building density versus capacity. So one of the things that they were looking at is looking at what your building could hold prior to this. And then as we look at reopening, making sure that you're cutting that at least in half. So that was a key area. Size of the gathering. So what I heard was the size of gatherings is going to be determined Friday by the governor, as the pause is not likely going to be reinstated. Recommendation is double your normal cleaning efforts and making sure that you're sanitizing. They will be doing manned infrared, and I talked about this earlier. So manned infrared thermometer temperature checks at the county level for public facilities. Anyone over 100 degrees is not allowed to enter. It's believed that phase 2 professional services will open many more businesses than first assumed, which we've already started to see. And then there's a high likelihood around dentists, salons, spas, and fitness centers being included as well. So that opens up a whole new category for us. This is one of the sites that I was talking about earlier. Let's see if it's going to take me there. So something that New York State is doing, and I believe this is on a regional level, is they're sending this out. They're going to be sending this to businesses. And it is a reopening safety plan template. So this is something that you will want to fill out. And it's basically a plan if, something turns around or you have any kind of litigation type issues. So if you have somebody that contracts COVID and you find out from the health department that they were at your facility, this is something that they're going to want to see moving forward. So if you are contacted by the health department that you have this, so this is is a mandatory type of form that they're going to want you to have if you were to have any kind of contact with the health department. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. We will have a link available on the presentation, and we can go and put it up as well. But one of the interesting things I saw on this that I think you need to be aware of is the cleaning. So basically, they are requesting that you have a log. So who's responsible for maintaining a cleaning log, and where will it be kept? So I don't think a lot of people assumed that there were going to be this kind of level of detail. And I think this is a good opportunity for if you don't have a good system of keeping track of cleaning, I think this is a good opportunity to start looking for businesses that are going to be able to do this for you if you don't have the ability to do it yourself. But a cleaning log is something that's going to have to be established, whether it's managed by you or a third party. So I think for any business that could be opening up either this week, at the end of the week, or into the next couple weeks, I think having a cleaning log is going to be has to be number one on the list if they're looking for this kind of detail. So. Some of the other resources I have, so Steuben County IDA has a good reopening guidance as well. And it basically covers a lot of the same detail that I had in the Excel spreadsheet, but also gives you resources. So these are all be available. And I already took you through the Steuben County pages that show you the maps and where to find what's happening in your area as far as recent cases and what to look out for. So those are all very helpful. And that is kind of it for my part of the presentation. Does anybody have any questions, anything that they saw that they want to talk about or bring up? Any areas of concern for anybody?
Hey, well,
Okay.
Thank you, Barry.
You're welcome.
Thanks everybody for joining us this week. If you have any comments or questions, we welcome them and you pretty much know how to reach us, either email or phone or even through our Facebook page. So thanks for your time today, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. So take care, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.
There he is.
Who is that masked man?
I know. He's very quiet.
Yes.
That's because he's on mute.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know if I can unmute him. You're on.
No,
Oh, there you are.
I unmuted him.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, thank you for. Usually, I'm quiet. I'm not quiet, but this time I decided I'm going to hear from the experts a little more.
Oh, good.
You know. However, I have to tell you that we have been open all through, as you know.
Yes.
And we are open. We do have almost everything that you mentioned. Maybe I should say we have been 2 steps ahead of the governor.
Yes.
We even have a cleaning log all through.
Good.
Okay.
Excellent.
And we have a whole supply of masks, by the way. If your people or somebody in the company, I mean, in any company wants to buy 1,000 or 10,000 or even 500,000 masks,
Oh, good.
Kajal's husband is selling them.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Can you leave that address where we
Yeah.
can get them on the chat? Because we'll have that for other individuals as
Promote
well,
it.
because we're always hearing from people that need PPE. So whether it be masks or gloves or whatever.
Oh, well, speaking of so anyways, thank you very much for that presentation,
Yes,
and we look forward to next week.
good. Did you have any specific questions around PPE or PPE? PPP, because I know
I'm
guys
glad
were-
you asked that question. Okay, so my question was, how many hours is FTE? One FTE, tell me.
40.
Are you sure? Because SBA definition is 30.
Whose definition?
SBA.
So we've been told 40, but they haven't given us any clarification if 30 would work.
That's the problem.
Yeah, nobody has said that 30 is okay. So we've been using 40 as our examples because we don't want to mislead people.
You know, I think that the PPP loan forgiveness will be decided by the lender.
Right.
And in our case, the student trust company is being merged into community bank.
Okay.
So there is that confusion about who the heck is going to be our real lender to
Okay.
decide on what the loan is going to look like. We kind of want to get a guideline from somebody so that we can keep track of all our expenses, payroll expenses properly.
Right. Yeah. So I would say you're safe with 40. I wouldn't try to do 30 because I think if you were to do that and then the guidance came out as 40, then you'd be in trouble. You know what I mean? So
I'm emailing
Okay.
Dan Rickman right now. He should
Oh,
give us a
good.
solid answer.
But if you look at online documents from different states, you get 30, 35, et cetera, and 40.
Yeah.
SBA, I think, is going to end up having a single uniform definition.
They need to.
They have to,
Yeah.
because
so,
you cannot benefit more than some other state, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. So
and
my
it's
suspicion is that eventually it's going to come out, but I'd like to know if you can make progress on that particular definition part.
Yeah, so in everything that we've heard, so I've heard a couple, Insero is one of the companies that I've been listening to, and they were saying the same thing, but they still haven't come back with an actual definition. Their concern was, some people say full-time equivalent is 30 hours, some say 35, some say 40. We were going by 40 just because that's the safe bet at this point, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've got Excel spreadsheets that you have the ability to manipulate with the hours. So if that were something that was going to change, we could look at that as well down the road as far as getting that percentage.
Well, no, it's not all that simple. I mean, you could do a complex spreadsheet, but when we have people who are 36 hours, for instance,
Right.
and the FTE is defined at 30 only,
Right.
then they do say that those 6 hours more than the 30 hours, they don't count.
Oh,
I don't know if you knew that.
no, I haven't heard any definition around
Look,
that yet.
Yeah, check the site.
Okay.
Anything higher than 30, for a single individual doesn't count. It's just one FTE.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Likewise, our Paychecks, service, the payroll service provider, they keep our employees, salaried employees at 40.
Right.
They would be only counted as one.
Right.
Okay, so that the total hours they come down at the bottom line in department summaries, that really becomes almost a meaningless number. If it were done on 40 basis of 40.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. we'll see if we can't get some definition from, you said Dan would have that answer,
Yeah,
Ashley?
he will have that information.
Okay. So we'll see if we can't get that for you in writing from the people that make those decisions.
Thank you.
Yep. Then you at least have an email that says this is what
All right.
somebody from the SBA has said. So,
Okay.
all right.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right.
Stay,
Good to see
stay
you.
healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yes,
Bye.
we'll see you later. All right, next call, everybody. We'll see you at that.
Woohoo.
See you
It's time for
then.
a quick visit to the restroom.
All right.